Have you ever had a dream so big that people laughed at you? What if the person laughing was a billionaire who held your future in his hands? This is the story of Samuel, a humble gardener with a dream that reached for the stars, and Mr. Harrison, the tycoon who thought he could crush it with a single, cruel laugh. But what Mr. Harrison didn't know was that a storm was brewing, one that would change both of their lives forever. Samuel wasn't just any gardener. For him, every seed he planted, every flower he nurtured, was a step towards a bigger vision. He worked on the sprawling estate of Alistair Harrison, a man who had built an empire from scratch, and now looked down on the world from his glass tower. Samuel's hands, though calloused and stained with soil, sketched out designs for something incredible, a vertical farming system that could feed entire cities. He spent his nights poring over books on botany, engineering, and sustainable agriculture, filling notebooks with complex diagrams and innovative ideas. He believed his system could solve hunger, using minimal space and resources. It was more than a project. It was his life's purpose. One sunny afternoon, Samuel found the courage to approach Mr. Harrison. He saw him walking by the prize-winning rose bushes, a rare moment when the billionaire wasn't glued to his phone. Taking a deep breath, Samuel held out his worn notebook. "Mr. Harrison, sir," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "I know this is forward, but I have an idea, something that could change the world." Harrison glanced at the dirt under Samuel's fingernails and then at the notebook. With a look of disdain, he flipped through a few pages, his smirk growing wider with each detailed drawing. "Vertical farming," he scoffed, his laughter echoing across the perfectly manicured lawn. "You, a gardener, think you can solve world hunger? Samuel, stick to what you know. Stick to digging in my dirt. Dreams are for people who can afford them." He tossed the notebook onto the grass, the pages fluttering open to Samuel's most detailed sketch. The dismissal was like a physical blow, humiliated and heartbroken. Samuel picked up his notebook, his dream feeling heavier than ever. He watched Harrison walk away, feeling a cold resolve settle over him. He wouldn't give up. That night, a tempest raged outside, mirroring the storm in Samuel's heart. But he didn't wallow in despair. Instead, he channeled his frustration into action. He stayed up all night, refining his proposal, strengthening his data, and creating a digital presentation. He knew his idea was solid, and Harrison's mockery only fueled his determination to prove him wrong. He decided he would find another way, another investor who could see the value in his vision, not just the dirt on his hands. The next morning, the world woke up to shocking news. Harrison Industries, the corporate giant that seemed invincible, was on the brink of collapse. A massive, unexpected market crash had wiped out billions from its value overnight. The news channels were buzzing with reports of Alistair Harrison's downfall. The man who had mocked Samuel's dream was now facing the nightmare of losing everything. When Samuel arrived for work, the estate was in chaos. Staff were whispering, phones were ringing off the hook, and the air was thick with panic. He found Mr. Harrison in his study, a place Samuel had never been allowed to enter. The tycoon was a shadow of his former self. His expensive suit was rumpled. His face was pale, and he stared blankly at a television screen flashing stock market tickers in a sea of red. He looked up as Samuel entered, his eyes filled with a desperation Samuel had never seen. "They're gone," Harrison whispered, his voice hollow. "Everything. My legacy, my fortune, all gone." In that moment, Samuel didn't feel triumph or satisfaction. He felt a strange sense of empathy. He saw not a billionaire, but a broken man. He remembered the sting of Harrison's words, but also saw an opportunity, not for revenge, but for redemption. He walked over and gently placed his polished proposal on the mahogany desk. "Mr. Harrison," Samuel said, his voice steady and calm, "your old world may be gone, but maybe we can build a new one. Together." Harrison looked from the proposal to Samuel's face, confusion warring with his despair. "What is this?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "It's the future," Samuel replied. "It's a plan. A way to rebuild, not with stocks and speculation, but with something real. Something that grows." Harrison slowly opened the proposal. This time, he didn't see the scribbles of a mere gardener. He saw a meticulously researched, innovative business plan. He saw logistics, profit margins, and a vision for a sustainable enterprise that was not only profitable but also meaningful. He saw the very thing that could save him. The journey wasn't easy. Harrison had to swallow his pride, a bitter pill for a man who once had it all. He sold off what remained of his assets: the private jet, the luxury cars, the lavish properties. He poured every last cent into Samuel's project. The two men, once separated by a vast chasm of wealth and status, now worked side by side. They built the first prototype in an old, abandoned warehouse that Harrison had managed to keep. Harrison, the man who once only signed multi-million-dollar deals, was now learning to assemble hydroponic towers and calibrate irrigation systems. He discovered a satisfaction in building something tangible, something that he could touch and see grow. Samuel, in turn, blossomed as a leader. He guided the project with a quiet confidence that inspired everyone around them. His deep knowledge of botany, combined with Harrison's sharp business acumen, created a powerful partnership. They secured a small plot of land and launched Verdant Growth, their vertical farming company. Their mission was simple: to provide fresh, affordable produce to local communities, starting with food deserts in their own city. The first harvest was a triumph. The vibrant green lettuce and ripe red tomatoes were more beautiful to Harrison than any stock certificate had ever been. They delivered their first batch to a local community center, and the gratitude on people's faces was a currency more valuable than any he had ever known. Word of their success spread. News outlets that had once reported on Harrison's downfall now featured stories of his incredible comeback, hailing Verdant Growth as a model for the future of urban agriculture. Investors, intrigued by the story of redemption and innovation, came calling. This time, they weren't investing in a faceless corporation, but in a powerful vision and the unlikely partnership behind it. Verdant Growth expanded rapidly, building farms and cities across the country and eventually the world. Samuel's dream, once mocked and dismissed, was now a global reality, feeding millions. Alistair Harrison found a new kind of wealth, a richness of purpose that his billions could never buy. He often said that losing his fortune was the best thing that ever happened to him because it allowed him to find his humanity. And Samuel, the humble gardener, became a world-renowned innovator. He never forgot his roots, always taking time to walk through the vertical farms, his hands still touching the soil, forever connected to the simple act of planting a seed and watching it grow. Their story became a legend, a powerful reminder that a dream, no matter how humble its origins, has the power to change the world. It teaches us that true value isn't measured in dollars, but in the positive impact we have on others. And it shows that sometimes the greatest fortunes are found not in what we have, but in what we have the courage to build. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that makes you think. We'll see you in the next video.